Good morning, everyone. It's already warm this morning, so I'm leaving I got 2 more of these shirts to get me through the week if I need to. I hope everybody's had a good Labor Day weekend. But we're into September, which means we're in a high watch mode. I don't set dates, you know that. But everybody's talking. September 23rd again is the Revelation 12 sign. It's the autumn equinox. In 2017 is when the original one that we know about happened. We have an interesting one coming up this year. You can always find stars around the head of Virgo, but September 2017 was the big one. But we have an interesting one. Jupiter was the child back then, going out in retrograde and then coming back, staying within the body of Virgo. But we have an asteroid, I think it's 4580, whose name is Child, is going to go through the constellation in the next couple of weeks, week or so. Interesting. Again, we can't set dates, but we can look at what's happened in the past. And some are saying the rapture has to be during the trumpets because we have, which is on the 15th to the 17th. Rosh Hashanah, or Feast of Trumpets, it's basically partying, reveling. It's their new year. Come on, I don't need mosquitoes around me. I'm going to have to spray up before I come out here anymore. But that's an important time. But it's a Jewish event. And our rapture is not a Jewish event. It's a Christian event. So I'm not necessarily associating anything with these dates. But I'm just telling you that these are important dates. If something were to happen involving Israel, these would be dates that you would want to watch. They're already having major issues with the Palestinians right now. There's attacks going on pretty much every week. Some have died, not a lot, but some have died. It could go bigger, but they're just being a pain. They're trying to ram the IDF in vehicles. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So they're doing what they can to cause terror. That's what terrorists do. They put them down. I mean, at least they report that they kill the bad guys most of the time. But there's still unrest there, and it's the Palestinians who claim it's their land, and they're lying through their teeth. But of course, the bad guys in the world, the bad players, back it up because they don't like Israel, they don't like the United States. We got the big and little Satan, remember? So with this month coming up, if I was going to bet on a year, this would be it. September 23, 2023. 23, that's an interesting pairing up of numbers. I talked in my last video about the 666 number and what it could mean. We don't have an idea yet, and I don't think we will. On most of this end time stuff that's coming, we're not going to know until it happens. But he's telling us so that way when it does happen, he always starts off with don't be afraid. So don't be afraid when you see these things happening. We've got hurricanes and typhoons around the world, massive fires, the stuff that's coming out. I don't know how true it is, but the stuff I'm hearing about the Maui fire, it's like these rich elites that are going to take over the world want a resort area there. And I noticed that there's a whole bunch of people that had homes up to the fire area, but they weren't damaged at all. So I think they're going to create that new little AI resort there. so they had to clean the people out. They blockaded roads, from what I understand, so you couldn't get out of town. People died there because the government didn't want them to get out. That's where we're heading. They're going to eliminate us one way or the other. Starvation, another vaccine that's supposed to help, but then people just start dropping dead. Do you remember in your lifetime, and I'm almost 70, where people just drop dead at 25? Oh, I may have one in those 70 years, but in the last 2 or 3 years since the big C, it's almost every day in the news someplace. Remember, the 2030 organization wants the population reduced by 80%. And they're in the process of doing it. They would love to have a war take place and kill millions. They'd like billions killed, but that's kind of hard unless nukes start going, and that might blow up some of their favorite spots. So they don't really want that. If they can keep the nukes limited to the Middle East, then they'd be okay with that. But you've got big players right now that have to be eliminated. The United States is a key one, because we're a Christian nation, or we were. So we have to go. China wants to be a superpower. They're going to have to go. They're teetering on all kinds of problems over there that we don't know about because their media lies. Just like ours. Their population is going down. Our population is going down. So all these world events are happening. We're waiting for the shoe to drop. We're waiting for Satan to trigger Revelation 12. That's all we're waiting on. And then everything else will start right after that. Once we're gone, the Gentile age is over, and we're back into the 70th week. Now, there's a couple of teachings on it, and I've talked about it. Some teachers that I like on this area specifically, Robert Breaker. If you see him, he's got a whiteboard behind him, and he's got the timeline on the whiteboard. And he's done some research into this year's version of Revelation 12. Brenda Weltner also talks about these. Now, she used to be a predictor on dates, and she stopped that. Because you can only predict so long, and then once you prove to everybody you don't know what you're talking about, they stop watching. So she doesn't predict. We're just in a high watch. But we got a lot of things going on. Venus is going to be the brightest this month. It's going to be the equivalent of the star that showed the pathway to Jesus when he was born. So Venus is going to be just like that, bright. And it's going to come through Leo. Be right outside Leo next to it. And the Leo star is the one that they think may have been involved in that back then anyway. So could they line up and be on top of each other? Yeah, if you want to use programs, I don't follow. I'm not talking about astrology. I'm talking about astronomy. Was it Solarium or something? There's a program you can look at that will show you the position of the stars at any date. And you can put them in there and it goes backward and forward. It's an interesting look at the sky. You say, why do we want to look at the sky? Well, let's take a look at Genesis 1:14. Then God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day and the night. Well, we got the sun and the moon. And let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years. And let there be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it was so. Then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser to rule the night, the sun and the moon. He made the stars also. God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on earth and to rule over the day and over the night and to divide the light from the dark. And God saw that it was good, and it was the evening and the morning of the fourth day. So, the word used is Moab when he's talking about these lights in the sky. They're for signs, is what Moab means. So, like the Moabites. They're signs in the sky. So we are to look at the stars. Now, how we interpret them, that's questionable sometimes. We don't really have any prophets running around that we can trust anyway. Satan's going to try to be a one-all for his Antichrist. And he will be prophetic, but it's not going to match the Bible. Now, he may have some of the truth in there. That's how Satan works. He picks part of the truth and he puts it with a lie, and you think that they're all the truth. He's good at that. He's been doing it for a few thousand years. But this month is important. Rosh Hashanah, and at the end of the month, you have Tabernacles. And that goes into October. It's a week-long celebration. Some people say that would be a date for the rapture. Again, tying them to Jewish events. Now, I don't think it's going to be tied to a Jewish event, but it might trigger the Jewish event. In other words, we get out of here, and now all the things in Revelation start happening. Revelation is basically telling us the future of the Jews. Starts off with the church, but then it quickly switches to the Jews. Remember, it's not linear. You don't start from Revelation 1 and read to 23 or 22. It's not linear. They're little vignettes. You got to make sure you keep them that way. Okay, you went the wrong way, you're going to back up. And you're still backing up. You're going to back up half a mile? Crazy people. But in any case, we're in the Gentile age, so we got to focus on what we're going on with that. Paul taught the Gentiles. Jesus taught the Jews. He even had a Gentile come up to him and say, don't you let your dogs feed from the table? When things fall on the floor off the table, you let your dogs eat that. Well, let me glean what I can. And he said, you've got a lot of faith, you can glean. But he came for the Jews. That was his mission, to save the chosen people. And he did. He saved everybody else too, but he came primarily to the Jews. Jew being an Americanized or an Anglican version of Judah, in case you didn't know. And Jesus is of the tribe of Judah. The Lion of Judah, that's where we get that phrase. And Virgo's here, Leo's here. Now again, we're not talking astrology, we're talking astronomy. Okay? So don't let any of this frighten you, but we're getting ready to trigger this stuff. It's been 6 years since the original Revelation 12 sign. Does that mean that that time frame that started is going to end now, at the end of 6 years, and the 7th year is going to start the tribulation? Don't know. Does that mean that we still got another year to go? 2024. I don't see how that fits. Not in the timeline, not in the 70 years. He does things in 70 years. They were in exile for 70 years. The temple was destroyed in 70 AD. So 1948 add 70. Where does that put us? You do the math. But we should be the 70 to 80 year generation. We were in that time frame. And do we count from the nation becoming a nation? Do we count from when it's actually a country in 1948, May 14th? Do we go back into 1947 where the United Nations said that they could form a country? Or do we move all the way ahead to the 6-Day War in 67, where they gained Jerusalem. See, it gets hard to figure some of these things when you start calculating timelines. It's hard to know which ones to use. So you got to be careful. But it's interesting to study. And, well, the other one I was going to mention too, Robert Baker, Brenda Weltner, and Barry Ah. These are ones that you've got to follow along with. They give Bible verses. Look them up and check them. Look up anything I say and check what I say. I'm kind of out of cycle right now. I'm having trouble getting used to being back in city. I'm not really where I need to be sleeping yet. We haven't gotten that figured out yet. My son's a night person and I'm a morning person, and we're colliding. When he was in his separate tent, I didn't care. We've been sharing a room, and I don't think that's going to work. So pray for us that we can figure this out. I'm just wondering how much more of this do we have to put up with. My car is starting to get to the end of its age. I can keep paying money and keep it working, but how much money do I need to spend? You know, that's the catch of all this. If the rapture's this month, we don't have to worry about anything. Just keep it alive, if you will. Keep the message going, but don't fix the leaky sink. Or, you know, it's hard to know. We got to still do all the things that we need to do. So don't stop. Don't go and say, the rapture's this month. That's why we don't have a date. Keep doing what you need to do. God will take care of your needs. He promises that. So the needs are covered. You don't even have to worry about them. Wants or ways that you can help, those are variables that we don't know yet. So you got to talk to God and get Him to tell you. Again, like I said, sin is simply not being where God wants you to be, doing what He wants you to do. It doesn't have to be the carnal sins that we all talk about. And there's no scale. You know, sin is sin. It's all bad. And we all do it because we're sin nature. So stay. I must be doing something right. Oh, it just flew off. I had a dove land on the fence right next to me. John the Baptist had a dove come down for Jesus. They put a dove out to look for land when Noah was doing his thing. Doves represent the Spirit. So that's a good message to you right there. Be sin-free. Now, we know we can't do that in reality, but we can do it through Jesus. And that's where we should be focusing anyway. This is not our home. We're just passing through, make a good song. But this is going to be an interesting month. Something's probably big is going to happen this month, just because things have in the past. And the Palestinians, being a proxy for Iran, are already getting into trouble. So be ready. Have your stores ready. Have your Bible ready. Have your tracts ready. Talk to people. Let's see if I got everything on my list. I carry my list because this doesn't work well. I have too many senior moments. Okay. That's it. So yeah, so check out these other guys that I just mentioned. Their current videos are about this month. I'm just going to read one more time. I've read this many times. The Revelation 12 sign. Revelation 12:1. Now a great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun below shining up on Virgo, with the moon under her feet, And we're talking about it at a particular time in the heavens. And on her head a garland of 12 stars. This sign has happened a number of times, but not with a circular garland of stars around the head. Now, in order to get that, you had to add planets. Because there are other stars up there, but they form an irregular crown. If you want a nice round crown, September 23rd, 2017. Then, being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. Jesus said we will have labor pains leading up to this final week. So, if nothing more, it's an anniversary of the Revelation 12 sign to remind us that that's coming. Satan's going to attack the child. As soon as we get the right time, Satan's going to attack the child. Has he done that already? Not that we're really aware of. But we have another one coming up. Keep looking up. Are we doing on time? Oh, I'm good. Keep looking up. And I'm going to try. I've got really good internet here, so I'm going to try. I'm changing the settings on my Rumble posting. I'm going to try to post to both Rumble and YouTube. So you may start seeing more videos on YouTube. I've been doing one a week, but I'm going to try to get more. As long as I've got good, I'm getting 5 times the speed here because we've got a house with high-speed internet. And in a half hour, I can upload to 2 different places. When I was doing this before, I was posting on YouTube and having Rumble Google get the file, but it didn't get everyone. So they were not in sequence properly. So I'm going to post on Rumble first, and then 5-10 minutes later I'll post on YouTube. The files will already be there, but I'll have them go live, because I can put them up the night before. Now, this isn't one of those, because I'm doing this in the morning and I'm going to release it today in its entirety. But I've got to be able to get back on schedule, and I'm not sleeping well, so it takes me longer to get up and get going. I'll do what I'm doing now, and if you really want to know, click the bell icon on both Rumble and on YouTube, and you know when I release a video. I try to do it first thing in the morning because some people like to watch before they go to work, but I'm not up and going yet. This is later in the day. It's, I don't know. What time is it? 10 o'clock? I don't know. And I'm still tired. I could go take a nap. We're working this through. God will take care of it. But I get the impression not to be concerned about anything today. If something's falling apart and it's a safety issue, fix it. If you can put it off for a little while, do so. If you don't have the money and it's not a safety issue, you can put it off. But some things, if you put them off, become a bigger problem later on. So you got to be, I'm not telling you to do anything in particular. God has to tell you that. I fixed a toilet in the house yesterday. It was leaking, so I changed the inside. So you do certain things that you need to do. But if you've been looking at, I'm going to go and add a new room on the house, and you don't have the money, don't go borrow it. Not yet. The government's getting ready to take the dollar to zero. I bet you will still owe the money, but they won't owe you. I don't trust this government. I think they deliberately set the fires in Hawaii, killed all those people. I think that's how I believe this current group is, the harlot and her team, one of which will become the Antichrist. We're almost there, people. Don't give up. Don't stop running the race. And He'd come and get us. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.